Hey guys, welcome to the Black Men Spotlight. Thank you so much for joining me again. I'm so excited about this conversation with Nate Evans because he talks about the feeling of worthiness and how that impacts your life and how you can get to worthy. This conversation is super special because I'm someone who has felt lack and unworthiness in my own life. And so I could really relate to a Black man telling me he felt the same. And then he gave me resources and tools on how to get over that hump. So if you are feeling down, if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling unworthy, if you're not feeling valuable, if you're not feeling like yourself, this is a great conversation for you to tune into. But before we start that conversation, if you could please subscribe, because that is how the channel is going to grow. That's how we're going to monetize. And that is how we're going to keep on going and get the team paid. So let's get into it. Welcome to the Black Man Spotlight. I'm so excited for this episode because I'm sitting here with Nate Evans, who is an author, a speaker, and an event coordinator. And I have his book right now called Get to Worthy. I read it front to back. This is an incredible book because it's something that resonates with me in my life and my transformation these past 2 years. It's something that Affirmations for Black men is part of our purpose. And so we're about to have an incredible conversation. But if you can comment, let us know how you feel about this conversation. That would really be a huge help. So finally, welcome. Nate, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm really excited to be here. Love the platform, all of the work that you're doing, and really excited for this conversation.
Yay, I'm so happy to have you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved your book, by the way.
It's my most vulnerable piece of work to date, and it took me a while to actually write. I'm pretty quick as a writer. I love to write. Published several books prior to this, but this one right here, because of the subject matter, because of what I wanted to share and what I wanted people to take away, it really tugged at me. I'm a firm believer that God doesn't allow me to speak on things that I haven't grown through. So that book couldn't have been birthed until I grew through certain situations.
How is it that you have felt unworthy?
That is, okay, we getting into it. All right, we're starting off early. Yeah, for me, so it stemmed from like childhood stuff of just not feeling unworthy and then allowing those issues to linger on into adulthood. I used to be a sneakerhead and I've calmed down drastically. I still like my stuff, you know what I mean? Here and there. I like to pop out and throw something on because I like sneakers, but for a long time I realized because of the lack of income in our household growing up, because of the circumstances, there were certain things like, when I get older, I'm going to be able to do this, this, and this. I'm going to have some money. I'm going to work and get this money. So it got to a point where I was buying so many sneakers, stuff I'd never even worn, still sitting in boxes, all because I felt like when I was younger, I couldn't get these things. So I want them now to be affirmed. I needed to affirm. Like, I needed that. Like, yo, Nate, stay with the fresh kicks. I'm buying stuff I don't even like just because it's the new Jordan that came out because I can get it. Not because I genuinely wanted it or I really like this or, man, I've been wanting to put this on with this outfit. In my head, every time I would make that purchase, it was to be like, Nate, stay with the newest stuff. Because there was one point where Nate had to wear his mom's sneakers. There was one point where Nate had sneakers with holes in the front. You know what I mean? And he had to figure out a way to tape it up. There was one point where I had to wear sneakers that were too tight. You know what I mean? Hurting my feet, messing up my feet. But it's because it was a decent sneaker and they didn't have my size in the cheaper section with the discount shoes. So I got the Iversons that were a size too small, crunch my feet in them so I can go to school and wear them and be affirmed. You know what I mean? And I had this realization. This is probably like maybe a year or two ago. And I was like, bro, why am I buying? I was on the Sneaks app just buying everything that came out. Yeezys, this stuff I didn't even need. Had no desire for, but I knew I could get it. And I realized, that's a trauma response. I got to call my therapist. I'm going through something. I didn't even realize. Let me talk to her and realizing I still felt that need to be affirmed in certain ways. So I wasn't even getting stuff that I liked. I was getting stuff that I thought you liked. All of those purchases was that little boy with the sneakers that were too small or with the holes in them making those purchases on a grown man's behalf.
Wow.
Something I found out much later on, this may have been a few years ago, was that I was someone who was a high-functioning person with depression. Like I was able to show up, do my thing, perform well. I've always been that individual to show up in that way. But deep down inside, I was dealing with these insecurity issues and self-worth issues, and I didn't realize it. And it took really me, one, going to therapy and me slowing down enough to do the work and recognize these things, where I realized a part of my worth issues, it put me in a position to always need to be affirmed and seen. So a lot of my work and the things that I was doing at the time was the remnant of that. It was like, yo, I need to show up in this way. I need to be seen this way. I need to be on this stage because I deal with self-worth issues and I need people to think that I'm, some other version, right? And for me, that was trying to affirm myself and all of this different stuff. And it was just this self-defeating cycle where my self-worth just kept taking a hit because despite what people seen, I didn't feel like the person they seen. You know what I mean? I didn't like who I seen in the mirror every single night. Like, I don't feel worthy. I don't feel seen. I am struggling with this depression. And I got to a point where I just got tired of it. I got tired of faking it. I got tired of holding back the tears, and I just allowed myself to release, to fall apart in the safety of counsel, right? We were talking prior to this where it's like, yo, I'm big on vulnerability, but it has to be intentional. It can't just be promiscuous. I can't just be doing it with everybody. So in that multitude of counsel, I was able to be vulnerable and grow within that, with my brothers, right? Where they can affirm me, we can love on each other, we can grow together. It's a shoulder to lean on, you know what I mean? And I've been, since then, it's been, just a couple years of that. I've been in this mode of just growing through that. And it's an everyday thing. Those self-worth issues are ever present. They're right there. You know what I mean? So I'm very intentional day in and day out on how do I see Nate? You know what I mean? How do I see myself every single day? Am I happy with what I see? What am I struggling with right now? And showing up, really being my biggest support system. And then from there, it changed how I felt internally. So I'll give you an example. Worthiness, or when I speak of worthy is a focus that then evokes a feeling. You know what I mean? So when I was dealing with severe anxiety and severe stress and depression and all of these things, it was because my focus was on something that was unfavorable to me. My focus was on trying to people please, trying to show up in this different way. It was trying to show up as the image that you wanted to see. And for me, that caused severe anxiety because I'm always thinking, yo, what if you don't like this version? So now my body's tensing up. I'm having panic attacks. Like, what's happening? And this was at a point where stuff was popping off for me. Like, really, it was up. Like, I think that was when I just had left doing a panel discussion with Damon John at the Apollo Theater. Like, stuff was up. I'm speaking all around the country. But I realized there's this image of me that's out there, and I feel like I got to keep living up to that. And I don't feel worthy of any of it because I haven't dealt with the actual internal issues. I'm just showing up. You know what I mean? I'm showing up to perform. I'm showing up to do this. I'm showing up in these different ways. And it got to a point where I didn't realize how daunting it was to me until one day I couldn't get off the couch. And I'm sitting there with my wife, and I'm like, yo, my chest is like really tight. I feel like I can't move. I'm thinking I'm having a heart attack. So I'm panicking like a normal person would. And, hit up my doctor, come to find out, went to the hospital. They checked me for a bunch of stuff. Heart's good. I was just going through a panic attack, like and that was scary. And I started to think about, all right, Nate, what have you been focused on lately that has you tensing up like this? And it was trying to show up in a way where I can be more seen. I can get more likes, more followers, all of these different things. I can hold this image up. Yo, Nate, you was just there. Yo, man, you killing it, bruh. I want to be like you. You doing your thing. And it's like, oh, snap. Okay, I got to keep this up. I can't even just allow myself to breathe and take in a moment. I got to keep trying to elevate and do more and do more and do more. And it's not a healthy way to live. It's one of the quickest ways to go to destruction. It's one of the quickest ways to burn out, or as we say now, crash out? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But from the other space, when you are living from a place of affirmation and validation, man, it's beautiful because you're not worried about the mistakes. You're not worried about looking a certain way. You get to really indulge in the things that you enjoy that make you genuinely happy. You no longer have to hold up a certain aesthetic. So for me, I'll say this. I remember doing an interview once, and this was with the T-Mobile Magenta Edge, and it was like, what does success look like to you? And for a long time, I would always be like, success look like this, or the house, or the cars, or this amount of money. I want to be a multi-millionaire. I want to have all of these different things. And nothing's wrong with that stuff, right? But when I got to a point where I was content with myself, I was like, success looks like enjoying the people that I love the most. I had a moment on my birthday, this might have been like 3 or 4 years ago, where my wife invited my closest friends, who I was talking about earlier, to my house. And man, we didn't do nothing for my birthday but eat cake, eat food, and laugh for hours. It wasn't no big turn up. It wasn't a vacation trip. But it was one of the most beautiful experiences. And I found myself feeling the most successful in that moment. And I said, man, I want to experience more of these moments. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't have gotten into that space if I just didn't feel worthy, if I was constantly trying to live up to this model of what things look like. You know what I mean? Trying to live up to the metrics and the numbers and what people deem as successful. I just get to be Nate, and I feel worthy in that space.
I'm so happy for you that you've reached this point, because this is like, that's it, that's what's valuable. And I feel like the conversation of value right now is very skewed. And for Black men in particularly, it sucks for you guys, because the world is telling you that you're not valuable unless you're one of these Black men who's like hyper successful or hyper athletic or hyper creative. Mm-hmm. And so you have an entire world of people who are devaluing your humanity and devaluing like just your whole essence, and telling you that you have to be special in order to be valued. And then there's also this like language and this conversation going on online where there's a lot of beautiful, incredible women agreeing with that.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
It's like you've reached that point, where you're like, no, like this is what's valuable to me, like the people that I love, having special moments with my family and my close friends, and feeling seen in that group, like, and having as many moments of those moments as I can. And that is such a powerful place to be, because then everything is just extra.
Everything else is a bonus outside of that. You know what I mean? When I even think about just that conversation between the men and the women, where it's like, you need to earn a certain amount. You need to be able to get her this type of bag. Can you fly her out? I even saw one podcast. I don't remember what it was, but he was like, I make well over 6 figures. Like, I'm doing this. I'm this height. I'm this, that, and the third. This makes me a successful man. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
Where are you getting this standard from? Like, where's your moral compass at? Like, what's happening? Where are you developing these things from? And that can be very toxic for men, especially Black men who are seeing these things, consuming that kind of content, because you start to look at your own conditions and then you devalue what you have, the blessing of what you have. You know what I mean? You woke up this morning. One of my things my therapist said to me, I was going through this moment. This is probably like a year or two ago. She was like, Nate, take a deep breath. Mind you, I'm in my office at the house. She said, take a deep breath and just look around. Now, it's my office. Ain't a bunch of glamorous stuff in there, but I took a deep breath and I glanced around. I was like, okay. And she's like, just soak in this. And she was like, I want you to let your younger self know that you're safe now. And as I'm saying this to myself, I'm starting to get emotional. And it hit me. It was like, this is success. This is the blessing. I'm looking around. I got an office at our home. We got multiple bedrooms, upstairs, downstairs, backyard, all this stuff. There was a point in time where I was pretty much like almost homeless. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Where my wife's mom, when we were dating, she took me in at the time. Didn't even have a place to stay. Wow. Living in a tiny bedroom while she's at college, trying to figure life out. To now, we have a child, we're married, we have a home, we got clean water, we got food. Like, it's all really perspective. And a lot of times for us, man, the perspective is way off, because there's a certain group of individuals who put up status as success and not peace and joy. Because a lot of those individuals ain't got peace. Mm-mm. You got to uphold what it is that you're doing. As opposed to me, I can go in the crib and I'm in peace. And that's a beautiful place to be. When your nervous system is regulated, especially as a Black man in this world where we're being hit from so many different areas, that's success. That's major right there. You can get to that place for contentment, where you're happy with yourself, with the people you love, when you're grateful for what you have, like, yo, I can go home and drink clean water. You know what I mean? Food in my refrigerator. A family who loves me. A wife I can hug and kiss every morning before she leaves out the house and I leave out the house. A son who I can take to daycare every morning in the car that I have. Just the little things. And I think when we slow down enough to realize all of the abundance around us, we'll stop focusing on the lack that we have in our lives. But we miss all of that because culture, society, social media pushes the lack. Yeah. They're like, oh, you lacking this, you need to get more of this. You need to have more of these. You need to have more of these things. You only got one woman? Oh, you need more of that. And it's like, what are you talking about? I have all of this abundance around me. And if I focus on that, yo, I'm at peace.
Yes. This is like speaking my language, because that's what affirming yourself and affirming what you have and affirming your life, that's what that does. It reprograms your brain to experience a sense of gratitude. Right? At least in my experience, in the household that I was raised in, there was so much, we don't have this, or we need that, or, this is going wrong, putting out fires constantly, like raised an environment like that, and of lack. And that's not even social media lack. That's just like, the household lack. And then so it's like, if we've been conditioned to every single day, think about lack every single day. Every single day. Do you like what that does to your life and your mind? It doesn't, when you get that thing that you think is going to make everything okay, you've already trained your mind to think about lack every single day.
Period. So you get it. So that's so crazy because you get the thing and then it's like, oh, well, I'm missing this. You get the lump sum of money and then it's not enough. And it's like, yo, it's so deep and it takes intentional work. You know what I mean? That's why I love this podcast. I love the work you're doing because it's intentional work over time. I tell people it's simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. Every day you have to get up and start to just choose yourself, whatever that looks like.
I'm so sorry, but I have to cut this conversation short because the second part is going to be in the subscriber hub of Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. I don't know if TikTok is still alive right now by the time you see this, but if it's not, head over to Facebook or Instagram because I do have a subscriber portal where the second half of this conversation is going to be. And there's so much other content that I post on there. And that is, again, how we're going to keep on doing this and monetize. So if you enjoyed this conversation, if you enjoyed the Professor Odie conversation, if you are enjoying me and Nicardo, let us know in the comments, and you can also let us know by subscribing. So thank you so much for your support. Bye.